They noticed something about you, and now everything is about to change. Pause for a moment, because this is not a coincidence. You didn't just click on this video randomly. God brought you here, right now, at this exact moment, because something has shifted inside of you, and the world around you has felt it. You've been moving differently lately, haven't you? You're quieter, but stronger. You're calmer, but harder to shake. You don't react the way you used to. You don't chase people, attention, or validation anymore. And that right there is what caught their attention. They see it. Even the ones who never supported you, even the ones who doubted you, even the ones who thought they had you figured out. They're watching now, closely, trying to understand what changed, trying to figure out why they can't reach you the same way anymore. Because something in you has awakened, and when that kind of shift happens, when a chosen one stops chasing and starts standing, it creates a ripple, a spiritual signal. Something deeper than words. Something that unsettles people who were comfortable with the old version of you. This is not a coincidence. God brought you here to understand what's happening behind the scenes, because while you've been focused on healing, growing, detaching, they've been observing, not always openly, not always honestly, but they've been watching your silence, your distance, your discipline. And now, they're about to do something. They're going to test you, not because they're strong, but because they're confused. Confused by your peace. Confused by your absence. Confused by the fact that you no longer need what they once used to control you. So they'll try subtle things first. A message out of nowhere. A sudden appearance. A situation designed to pull you back into old patterns, old emotions, old reactions. Not because they miss you the right way, but because they want to see if they still have access to you, if they can still trigger you, if they can still make you chase. But what they don't understand is that you're not who you used to be. You didn't just move on. You transformed. There was a season where you were overlooked, a season where you were hurt, a season where you gave too much and received too little. And in that season, God was doing something inside of you that no one else could see. He was strengthening your spirit. He was teaching you to let go. He was showing you that your worth was never tied to who stayed or who left. And now, you walk differently. You think differently. You carry yourself with a quiet authority that doesn't need to be announced. And that kind of energy, it disturbs people who benefited from your old self. So yes, they're going to test you. They'll come back in ways that seem innocent, but feel familiar. They'll say things that sound harmless, but carry hidden intentions. They'll try to remind you of who you used to be, hoping you'll forget who you've become. But this moment, right here, is why God brought you here, to prepare you, to remind you, to wake you up before the test even begins. Because the test isn't really about them. It's about you. It's about whether you truly understand your growth, or if you'll slip back into patterns that no longer serve your purpose. It's about whether your silence is strength, or just a pause before old habits return. And deep down, you already feel it, don't you? That something is coming. A conversation, a situation, an encounter that will try to pull you back. But this time, you're aware. This time, You're ready, because God didn't bring you this far just to watch you fall back into what He pulled you out of. And as everything begins to unfold, as the tests start appearing in ways you didn't expect, remember this moment. Remember why you changed. Remember who you are now, because the shift inside of you is real, and it's powerful. And while they think they're about to figure you out, while they believe they're about to regain control, but what they don't realize is what this test is about to awaken inside you. They've been observing you, quietly, carefully, waiting, not in the way you might expect, not always obvious, not always visible. But you felt it, haven't you? That strange awareness, like eyes you can't see, are still somehow on you. Like something shifted in the atmosphere the moment you decided you were done chasing. Because you did decide that. You stopped running after people who gave you half-hearted energy. You stopped explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped begging for attention, validation, love, and instead you became still. And in that stillness something powerful happened. You found yourself. Not the version shaped by rejection, not the version that bent just to be accepted, but the real you, the one who knows their worth without needing to prove it, the one who can walk away without turning back, the one who doesn't need to chase, because what's meant for them will recognize them. That shift, it didn't go unnoticed. It couldn't, because when a chosen one stops chasing, it disrupts everything around them. The energy changes, the dynamic changes, the access people once had to you, it disappears. And for some, that's not just confusing, it's unsettling. They were used to a certain version of you, the one who stayed too long, the one who tolerated too much, the one who gave chances again and again, even when it cost you your peace. But now you're different. Now your silence speaks louder than your words ever did. Now your absence carries more weight than your presence used to. Now your energy doesn't reach out. It stands firm, and that kind of transformation, it draws attention. Not just from people, but from something deeper, something harder to explain. Call it energy, call it spiritual awareness. Call it forces that respond when you rise out of who you used to be. They are watching. Not because you're loud, but because you're no longer available in the same way. And that's what confuses them, because they can't read you like before. They can't predict your reactions. They can't press the same emotional buttons and get the same results. It's like you stepped out of a pattern, and now they're trying to pull you back into it. But they don't come directly. No, it's more subtle than that. It's in the unexpected messages, the sudden curiosity, the way certain people start showing interest again. Right when you've finally let go. It's in the strange timing, the familiar situations, the moments that feel almost designed to see if you'll respond the old way. And deep down, you know, this isn't random. This is not a coincidence. God brought you here, so you wouldn't be caught off guard, so you would recognize what's happening instead of getting pulled back into it blindly, because your growth, your peace, your detachment, it didn't just elevate you, it exposed things. It revealed who was only around when you were easy to control. It revealed who needed you to stay the same, so they could feel comfortable. It revealed who never expected you to rise. and now doesn't know how to handle it. So they watch, they wait, they analyze your every move, your silence, your distance, trying to figure out if this new version of you is real or just temporary. Because if it's real, then they've lost something they can't replace. Access is control, familiarity, and that realization, it creates tension. A quiet tension you can feel, but can't always explain. A shift in how people approach you. A change in how situations unfold around you. Like something is building slowly, intentionally, because it is. What you're experiencing right now isn't just observation. It's preparation. Preparation for a moment where everything you've learned, everything you've healed from, everything you've become, will be tested, not loudly, not dramatically, but in ways that feel personal, precise, targeted, a conversation that hits a familiar nerve, a situation that mirrors your past, a person who knows exactly how you used to respond, trying one more time to see if you still will. And in that moment, all the watching, all the waiting, all the quiet observation, it leads to one question. Did you really change, or are you just temporarily distant? Because they don't fully believe it yet. Not until they see it for themselves. Not until they try you one more time. And that's exactly why the test is coming next. They're about to test. They're about to test you in ways you didn't expect. Not in obvious ways. Not in ways that clearly announce themselves. This isn't going to look like a challenge. It's going to feel like a choice, a familiar moment. A subtle pull back into something you thought you had already outgrown. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because the test won't come labeled as a test. It will come through people. Someone you haven't heard from in a long time suddenly reappears. Their words sound softer now, more understanding, almost like they've changed. They might apologize. They might remind you of good memories. They might say just enough to open a door you worked so hard to close. But pay attention, because it's not always about what they're saying. It's about what it's trying to awaken in you. Old emotions, old attachments, old habits that once made you lose yourself just to keep someone else. And if it's not a person, it will be a situation. A moment that feels strangely familiar. A scenario that mirrors something from your past. The same kind of pressure, the same kind of confusion, the same kind of emotional weight trying to pull you back into reacting instead of responding. You might feel the urge to explain yourself again, to prove your worth again, to chase clarity from people who never gave it to you before. And that's where the test lives. Right there, in the space between who you used to be and who you've become. Because this isn't random. This is not a coincidence. This is spiritual. You're being tested at the exact level you've grown to. And the deeper your transformation, the more precise the test becomes. It knows your weak spots. It knows your history. It knows the version of you that once struggled to let go, the version that stayed too long, the version that confused love with attachment and silence with peace. And it will try to bring that version back to the surface through temptation, through distraction, through emotional triggers that hit you when you're least expecting it. You might feel it late at night, when your mind starts replaying memories you thought you had buried. You might feel it in a moment of loneliness, when something inside you whispers, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you should reach out. You might even feel it in moments of success, when everything is finally going right, and suddenly something tries to pull your focus away, to disturb your peace, to see if you'll abandon your growth for something that no longer aligns with you. That's the test. Not to destroy you, but to reveal you, to show you clearly and undeniably whether you've truly healed or just learned how to temporarily escape. Because real growth isn't proven in isolation. It's proven in confrontation, in the exact moment where the old path reopens, and you have the power to either walk it again or choose differently. And make no mistake, this test will feel real. It will feel personal. It will feel like something you want to respond to. Because if it didn't, it wouldn't be a test. It's designed to pull on something inside of you. Something emotional. Something unresolved. Something that once had power over you. But here's what you need to understand. The test isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing the pattern before it repeats. It's about feeling the pull, but not surrendering to it. Because every part of this moment, every person, every situation, every emotion is revealing something not about them, about you, about your strength, about your discipline, about whether you truly believe that what God is preparing for you is greater than what you left behind. And that's why it feels so intense. Because you're not just choosing an action, you're choosing a direction, forward into your purpose, or backward into something you already outgrew. And right now, as this begins to unfold, as the tests quietly take shape around you, you might feel a mix of things: confusion, curiosity, even temptation. But underneath all of that, there's something else. Something steady. Something calm. Something that wasn't there before. A voice that doesn't panic. A presence that doesn't chase. A strength that doesn't need to prove itself. Because after everything you've been through, after everything you've learned, but this time, something inside you is different. You're not the same person they used to know, and deep down, you feel that truth. In a way you can't even fully explain. It's not loud. It's not something you announce. But it's there, in the way you think, in the way you respond, in the way you no longer feel the need to chase what once consumed you. You've changed. Not on the surface, but at the core. There was a time when your emotions controlled you, when a single message could shift your entire mood, when someone's absence felt like something was missing inside of you, when you overgave, over-explained, overextended, just to keep people in your life. But that version of you, it's gone. Not because you forced it away, but because you outgrew it. You learned the hard way, through silence, through distance, through moments where you had no choice but to sit with yourself and face everything you used to run from. And in that process, something inside of you started to rebuild, stronger, clearer, more aware. Now you pause before reacting. Now you observe before speaking. Now you feel emotions, but you don't let them control your direction. That's growth. That's power. That's what makes you different now. Because self-control isn't just about holding back. It's about understanding. understanding your triggers, understanding your patterns, understanding the difference between what feels familiar and what actually aligns with your purpose. And you've reached a point where you can see things for what they are, not just what they appear to be. You can sense intentions. You can feel when something is off, even if no one says it out loud. You can recognize when a situation is trying to pull you back into something you've already healed from. That level of awareness, it changes everything, because now you're no longer reacting from pain. You're responding from clarity, and that's what separates who you were from who you are now. The old you would have chased closure. The new you creates it. The old you would have tried to fix people. The new you lets them be who they are and chooses accordingly. The old you would have held on, hoping things would change. The new you lets go, knowing you already have. That shift, it's not small, it's everything. It's the reason your energy feels different. It's the reason people can't access you the same way. It's the reason situations that once drained you now feel easy to walk away from. Because you're not operating from the same mindset anymore. You've stepped into something deeper, something more grounded, something that doesn't need constant reassurance, because it already knows. And that knowing, it's quiet, but it's unshakable. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. You don't need to explain your boundaries anymore. You don't need to convince anyone to see you differently, because you see yourself clearly now. And once that happens, everything changes. Your standards rise, your tolerance lowers, your circle becomes smaller, but more aligned. And your peace, it becomes non-negotiable. That's not something the old version of you could do. But this version understands the cost of going back. This version remembers what it felt like to lose yourself just to keep others. This version knows that growth wasn't easy, and it's not something you're willing to trade away for temporary comfort. And that's why this moment matters so much. Because as the tests come, as the old patterns try to resurface, as the familiar pulls try to get your attention, you're not facing them as the same person anymore. You're facing them with awareness, with discipline, with emotional strength that was built through everything you survived. You're not easily shaken now. You're not easily convinced now. You're not easily pulled out of your peace now, because you've already done the hardest part. You changed from within. And when that kind of transformation happens, it doesn't just affect you, it shifts how the world responds to you. It challenges the expectations people had of you. It forces everything around you to adjust or fall away. And that's where things start to get real, because not everyone is ready for who you've become. Not everyone can understand it. Not everyone can accept it. But that's not your responsibility anymore. Your responsibility is to stay aligned with the person you fought so hard to become, to protect your peace, to honor your growth, to trust that where you're going requires this version of you, not the one you left behind. And as you stand in that truth, as you move forward without looking back, as you continue to choose yourself in ways you never did before, something powerful begins to unfold. A shift that goes beyond what you can see. A moment that changes how everything plays out from here. Because this time, you're not reacting. You're choosing, and what happens next will shock everyone who doubted you. This test was never meant to break you. It was meant to reveal you. Everything you've been feeling, every moment of pressure, every emotional pull, every unexpected return of the past. It wasn't sent to destroy your progress. It was sent to show you who you've become, because there was a time when this would have broken you. There was a time when you would have gone back, when you would have answered that message, when you would have reopened that door, when you would have sacrificed your peace, just to feel something familiar again. But not now. Now you see it for what it is. Now you recognize the pattern before it traps you. Now you feel the pull, but you don't move. And that right there is the revelation. You didn't just survive what you went through. You evolved because of it. Every tear you cried, every moment you felt alone, every time you had to walk away, when it hurt the most, it built something inside of you that cannot be shaken now. Strength, clarity, discernment. You're not guessing anymore. You're not confused anymore. You're not looking for signs outside of yourself, because you've become the sign. That's what this test was meant to show you. That you're no longer who you used to be. That the version of you who tolerated less than you deserved is gone. That the version of you who chased, who begged, who overgave, has been replaced by someone who stands firm, walks away, and trusts God's timing without fear. And that's what makes you chosen. Not because you're perfect, but because you were willing to grow. You were willing to face yourself when it was uncomfortable. You were willing to let go when it didn't make sense. You were willing to trust that something better was ahead, even when you couldn't see it yet. That's what set you apart. That's why you're here right now. This is not a coincidence. God brought you here to remind you of your power, right when you needed it most. Because the test wasn't about them coming back. It was about you not going back. It was about you standing in your new identity, without hesitation, without doubt, without looking over your shoulder. And now, you've passed something deeper than you realize. You've proven to yourself that your peace is real, that your growth is solid, that your transformation wasn't temporary. It was permanent. And from this point forward, everything changes. Because when you refuse to go back to what God removed, He replaces it with what He promised. Better connections, clearer purpose, stronger alignment. The kind of life that doesn't require you to shrink, to chase, or to question your worth. That's what's coming. Not because you forced it, but because you became ready for it. So, don't doubt yourself now. Don't second guess the distance you've created. Don't feel guilty for choosing your peace over chaos. You didn't lose anything. You made space for everything that's truly meant for you. And if this message spoke to your spirit, if you felt something deep inside, you shift while listening to this. Comment Amen as a declaration of who you are becoming. Subscribe for more messages that strengthen your spirit and remind you of your purpose. And like and share this with someone who needs to hear this before their test begins. Because what you've stepped into is bigger than you think. You're not just growing, you're awakening. You're not just healing, you're transforming. And the world around you is going to feel that shift whether they understand it or not. So walk forward with confidence, stand firm in who you are, and never forget why you had to change in the first place. Because this wasn't the end of your story. It was the moment everything finally aligned in your favor.